So this is the Tennessee-Kentucky state line. Like, this is it right here. I'm turning left on the Pepper Road. A couple more miles up the street and you would be in Franklin, Kentucky. We're going out here to Connie and Jim Bill John's. We're gonna go check out their tobacco patch. They're one of the few people that still grow dark fire tobacco in Middle Tennessee. Once upon a time, they called this region the Black Patch region because the soil was so black and so rich that it always raised really good tobacco. You can kind of see in front of us maybe a little bit that there's some smoke rolling out of one of these barns, and that barn is what they call firing tobacco. And I wish that there was a scratch and sniff sticker that you could smell, because that is one of the best smells in the whole entire world, if you ask me. You got some scaffold wagons sitting there. They use those wagons to haul the tobacco to the barn. There's another scaffold wagon. I met Connie and Jim Bill 10,000 years ago, it seems like. They were into walking horses. And my granddaddy was always a big horse man. And for a while, they had some walking horses and they would come trail riding with us. And I always loved them. Connie always had a big smile on her face. Jim Bill smoked a big cigar. They were always so much fun to be around. We got corn on either side of the road. You can kind of tell it's starting to dry out, turn yellow. Won't be too long before they're out harvesting corn, combining. I think there are some people around that are combining already. So we made it out to the field. We've successfully figured out where the guys are cutting tobacco. I don't know how big this field is, but it's big. I would say maybe 20 acres. It's bigger than most people's yards, let's just put it that way. These are what they call scaffold wagons. After the tobacco has been cut and harvested, they put it on stick and then they load it onto these trailers. Every farmer's got a collection of tobacco sticks, and most of the time the sticks are as old as the barn. When you look at tobacco sticks, you can kind of tell that some are newer. Like this would be a newer tobacco stick. It's perfectly square, it's pretty straight, it's pretty sturdy. That was like milled newer. Some of these sticks you can tell are really old. These were probably hand split sticks. And one end on the hand split sticks usually has a point filed off on it. Each one of these sticks typically gets 6 stalks of tobacco. But each tobacco stick gets 6 plants. Technology pretty much hadn't changed much in a long time. But they're hung on these scaffold wagons. You can kind of see close. Like this is good, nice, juicy tobacco. This is what they call dark fired tobacco or wrapper tobacco. And the idea of wrapper tobacco is that they want to have a leaf that has no blemishes in it, that you can get a piece of tobacco that's about the size of a $1 bill. Because that's about how big it takes to roll a cigar. And they're spiked onto the sticks, every plant individually. And if you think this is 25 acres of tobacco or 50 acres, I'm not sure exactly what the acreage report would be, but all I know is it's a lot and it is hot and it's hard work. The money in Robertson County was from whiskey or tobacco. I know if you go on one of their little funeral tours or something, their historical tours, they'll tell you that it was like Robertson County was made up of Sunday school teachers and librarians, but that ain't the truth. It was pretty hardy individuals that raised tobacco for smoking and whiskey for drinking. And these guys are watching me. They're pretty curious about why I'm walking to the end of their field talking to myself. Are we having fun yet? YouTube. Yeah, now taking picture. All of you guys. Yeah, yeah, if you want. Over there. There you go. Thank you. Every one of these guys, they have 2 things in their hands. They've got a tobacco knife and they have a spike. And they come through and they cut the tobacco in blocks. so that the tobacco falls, because when they first cut it, it's really ripe. And if they were to pick this up and try to put it on a stick right now, it'd break the leaves off. So they turn it upside down so that the sun can wilt the tobacco down. And wilts it down a little bit, it gets to be like the consistency kind of a wet dish rag. And when it's soft, it's not crispy and it won't fall off the stick. So probably what they're going to do now is walk down here to the end of the row, and somebody's got to go drop sticks. When I was a kid or a teenager, that was always one of my jobs, was to drop sticks. And there's an art to dropping sticks, because you want one stick for every 6 plants. Because when it's all over with, you don't want to have to come back and pick those sticks up. Kind of one of those management skills that I learned as a kid, you know, like you want to have the water and the snacks at the end of the field. You want to have the wagons in the right place, so you can kind of keep everybody happy. This area, they call it the Black Patch area of Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky. What makes it different is the kind of wood that they use to smoke. It's similar to when you think about barbecue from different regions of the country. The difference most of the time, never mind the sauce, is the kind of wood that it's smoked in. And the thing that makes tobacco different here is the kind of wood. It's also the same thing that gives our barbecue the same flavors, and it's also what gives whiskey or bourbon, depending on whether you're Tennessee or Kentucky, what gives it that flavor. Because the way that they make a whiskey barrel is that you take some wood and you make a barrel, and then you char the inside of it, and that char, that dark color, is what gives whiskey its flavor, and it also what gives tobacco its flavor. So what you have here is a variety, and sometimes depending on which sawmill you get from, it's a variety of hardwood slabs. And what a slab is they take basically the bark of a tree when they're milling it, they're cutting it off to make it square, and that scrap, that thing that's left over, is what these bundles of slabs are made out of. It's basically the scraps from milling lumber that they use to fire tobacco. And you can see in these tobacco barns, it's airtight. The only place that smoke's coming out of this barn is at the top. The doors are sealed shut. There's metal all the way around the outside of the barn, so you can't like get in there. And I have permission from these farmers to be walking around, because if you see a barn smoking, don't come down here and mess with it. Because I always thought it was a little ironic that farmers took their most valuable crop and hung it in a wood barn to dry it out and built a fire underneath it, because it's not unheard of for tobacco barns to catch on fire. And let me tell you, that is a sad story. But this is the sawdust that they use to build the fires with, and it's probably laid out here since last winter, so the top of it's kind of faded out. But if you dig down in here, it's literally just sawdust. And if you could smell it, it smells pretty good. It smells like sawdust. Imagine that. Nothing like rocket science, but it's a pretty amazing process that's been happening here for generations. And we're really getting down to the last crops. There are fewer, I don't know of any new tobacco farmers. Like, I've never heard of a new tobacco farmer, to be frank. They're all old, and when they're done, they're done. So if you want to see it, this is your chance, because this is the last crop.